If you're a leader in an organization, or maybe a regulator, you're always thinking about the frontline defenses against corruption.
Right, the governance structures, internal controls, transparency laws.
Exactly. We think of them as this armor, these fortifications. But what happens when the most powerful people, the ones the rules are for, start pushing back? What's the absolute last wall standing?
That last wall is judicial independence. And for this deep dive, that's our entire focus, how that wall is strategically undermined around the world.
And we should be really clear about our source material here.
Yes, we're analyzing material from the American Anti-Corruption Institute, or AACI.
AACI.
Right. This is all based on an official audio article, and it was produced using Notebook LM just for educational purposes. All rights, we should say, are held by the American Anti-Corruption Institute and Mike Massoud. Copyright 2025.
So our mission today is, well, it's heavy, but it's essential. We're unpacking how judicial independence is systematically dismantled, how it goes from being a guardian to just an extension of political power.
And we'll look at real-world cases and then, crucially, the 5 catastrophic consequences the AACI identifies when that independence is gone.
I think it's so important to frame this correctly from the start.
I agree. It's vital we move past this idea that judicial independence is just a slogan, a nice theory. The AACI posits that it's an observable behavior.
Observable. So what's the test?
The only real test is this. Can judges genuinely hold the powerful politically, financially accountable when it really matters? If the answer is yes, corruption faces a real and existential risk.
But if the answer is no,
then corruption has a guaranteed opportunity.
Let's unpack this erosion then, because the material is clear. This process is, it's rarely a sudden collapse. It's more of an engineered, slow decay.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's insidious. It starts with these small, persistent, almost deniable actions.
Like what?
Well, the Institute's analysis notes you'll see a prosecutor who is, sidelined or transferred. Why? Simply for insisting on due process in a sensitive, high-profile case.
Or a judge is dismissed without any real cause. Maybe they'll use some tiny, fabricated administrative issue as a cover.
Exactly. Or, and this one is even more subtle, a ruling just gets delayed. Indefinitely. It sits at the bottom of the docket for years.
As issuing it would make the wrong person uncomfortable.
Precisely. And those small acts, they stack up. They send a powerful signal, a chilling effect through the entire judicial system.
And the source material points to this critical moment, a conceptual shift that happens right before the whole system breaks.
Yes, the shift from corruption being an aberration
to becoming a protected activity. That's a huge leap.
It's massive. When courts are independent, corruption is an aberration. It's against the rules. It's a mistake. It's punishable. But once that independence erodes, the courts stop being guardians.
They become extensions of political power.
And in that moment, corruption becomes a protected activity guaranteed by the very system designed to stop it.
So it's not just that the bad guy got away with something. It's that the system itself now actively ensures the powerful have immunity.
You've got it. And that's why the AACI sees judicial independence as a non-negotiable cornerstone in their 10 principles of fighting corruption. If you can't enforce accountability against the powerful, the whole framework just did. It loses its teeth.
This is where that balance of internal controls and external accountability gets completely thrown off, right? Companies spend fortunes on compliance, on audits, on governance policies.
But the source material suggests all that spending is basically performative if the judiciary is broken.
It's just for show.
It is. If you remove an effective independent judiciary, the rule of law becomes optional for anyone with influence. Think about it. An internal auditor finds massive fraud involving a politically connected board member. They write the report. It's all there in black and white.
But they know that if they try to take that to a court for enforcement, the case will be thrown out. Or worse.
Or worse, they get prosecuted for libel, for some minor error, and then that beautifully written internal audit report.
It's just expensive paper.
Exactly. The internal controls are theater. The AACI is very clear on this. All anti-corruption efforts become a performance if the enforcement system is compromised.
Okay, so if that's the mechanism, let's look at what this capture looks like in practice. The AACI material gives they're fascinating but terrifying global case studies.
Let's start with Tunisia. It's maybe the most blunt force example of executive capture. The executive branch just decides unilaterally who gets to be a judge.
So what happened there?
In June 2022, 57 judges were dismissed, just like that, by presidential decree.
57. All at once. That's not subtle.
Not at all. The mechanism was the complete abandonment of due process. No transparent evidence, no hearings, no chance for defense. The International Commission of Jurists, the ICJ and Euromed rights, they immediately called it what it was.
A deliberate dismantling of judicial autonomy.
Yes, a rapid one. You simply remove the judges who might resist political pressure, and you instantly convert the judiciary into an extension of the executive.
The law becomes discretionary, a weapon for your opponents.
And a shield for your allies. Guaranteed impunity. Tunisia really shows how fast judicial capture can happen when you just eliminate dissent.
So if Tunisia was the blunt force, our second example, Guatemala, is more like weaponized precision. It's about turning the legal system against the very people trying to fight corruption.
It's a truly chilling capture mechanism. The target shifts from the institution itself to the individuals running it.
So not just firing judges, but going after them personally.
And their supporters. The sources detail a systematic criminalization of justice operators, prosecutors, judges, investigative journalists, human rights defenders.
It moves beyond simple obstruction into active persecution.
It does. The UN Special Rapporteur confirmed this, the Associated Press reported on it, that many of these people have been chased with politically motivated criminal charges, forcing them into exile.
That is strategically brilliant in a terrifying way. Why just fire a prosecutor when you can accuse them of corruption, destroy their reputation, and send a message to every other judge thinking of taking on a tough case?
That's the core analysis. The AACI source calls this institutional weaponization. The system is captured, and instead of prosecuting corruption, it punishes those who challenge it. The courts become a deterrent against integrity.
You're literally teaching your system that doing the right thing will lead to professional and personal ruin.
Precisely.
And finally, Pakistan. This gives us the third and maybe the most sophisticated type of erosion, constitutional engineering. The damage is structural, and it's disguised as reform.
This is the long game. It's legalistic redesign. You're not sending police to arrest judges. You're changing the foundational blueprints of the court system itself, all under the guise of, say, increasing efficiency.
So what do they do in Pakistan, the source material flags?
The ICJ warned in 2025 that Pakistan's 27th constitutional amendment was a full frontal assault on judicial independence. It didn't fire anyone, but it reallocated core judicial power. It transferred crucial authority away from the Supreme Court, especially over lower courts and the appointments process.
So they didn't just appoint their allies. They changed the rules for how future appointments would be made and how accountability within the judiciary would even work.
Exactly. It strengthens executive control over who gets to be a judge and who gets disciplined. This creates a structural, long-term dependency. The erosion is deep, and it's hard to reverse because the new system looks legitimate. It's in the Constitution.
But its function is completely compromised.
Right.
So if we zoom out, the pattern is just. It's so consistent, isn't it? Across different regions, different legal traditions.
Yeah.
You remove resisting judges, you criminalize the good guys, you ignore rulings you don't like, and you restructure the whole system for political loyalty.
These are deliberate, repeatable strategies. And the conclusion is inevitable. Once a judiciary is captured, corruption is no longer risky.
It's secure.
It's secure.
Which brings us to the most critical takeaway from this deep dive. What happens to society, to the economy, to the state once that last wall is breached? The AACI details 5 catastrophic consequences.
And these effects just cascade into every single part of public and economic life. The first and most immediate one is that impunity becomes certain.
And impunity isn't just, criminals getting away with things. It means the powerful operate with active assurance that they are above the law.
Absolutely. The lack of consequence changes behavior. Corruption stops being a risky choice and becomes a routine business practice. You factor impunity into your business model. You plan around it.
And the second that citizens see this, trust just evaporates, which is consequence number 2. Citizens lose faith in the system.
When courts are clearly political tools, justice isn't just unlikely, it's unimaginable. And trust in all public institutions, the police, regulators, everything, starts to bleed out. Why vote? Why report a crime?
The social contract is broken.
It is. And beyond that social cost, there's a massive economic one. That's number 3. Economic damage intensifies.
How does that actually show up in economic terms?
It's all about crippling uncertainty. Businesses, especially international investors, they need to know that if a contract is breached, they have fair recourse. When courts are politicized, contracts are subject to political whims.
So foreign companies might just stop bidding on major projects. Or is it more, insidious, like Insurance rates going through the roof.
It can be both, but investment retreats become the norm. Capital runs from legal risk. Why put your money into a country if the judge overseeing your permits can be told what to do by a minister you didn't pay off? Legal uncertainty is a direct tax on investment.
So trust is gone, the economy is shaky, and that moves us to point 4. Social stability declines.
This is what happens after prolonged injustice. When people are convinced the courts can't protect them, when there is no recourse, the anger has to go somewhere.
Unrest.
Unrest, civil disobedience, volatility, it's the inevitable result. A captured judiciary is a formula for instability because it removes the nonviolent way to solve grievances.
And finally, the 5th consequence, which brings us right back to where we started. Anti-corruption efforts lose meaning.
Without judicial enforcement, every safeguard we talked about, internal controls, oversight bodies, governance frameworks, it all becomes symbolic.
Just for show.
You can write the strictest laws in the world, but if the courts refuse to enforce them against the powerful, they are literally just paper.
And this is why the AACI's conclusion is so stark. When judicial independence is weak, corruption thrives.
And the state begins its slide toward institutional failure. It's not just a symptom of the breakdown, it's the fundamental cause.
So if we bring this all back to, the leaders, board members, regulators listening, the message is intensely practical.
It is. You can talk about integrity and tone at the top all day long, but those commitments are absolutely meaningless without enforceability. You cannot fight corruption with compromised courts.
You can't enforce governance when judicial rulings can just be ignored. So judicial independence isn't just another item on a governance checklist. It is the fundamental framework that makes all the other principles credible.
It's the difference between corruption being a protected activity and a punishable act. It is the final tripwire.
That's the core truth. It's what transforms aspirational rules into binding law.
So we want to leave you with a final thought to consider. If that final wall, the judiciary, is bending, if it's been weakened or captured in your environment, then which of your carefully crafted rules are already just expensive theater?
Where is corruption secure not because it's hidden, but because the consequences have been effectively neutralized?
We thank you for joining us for this deep dive. A reminder one more time that this material is based on an official audio article by the American Anti-Corruption Institute and Mike Massoud, copyright 2025. This is all provided for educational and informational purposes, and it does not constitute legal advice.
We look forward to continuing this conversation. Keep an eye out for part 2 of this series, Judicial Independence in Practice. We'll examine landmark court decisions, including the fascinating case of former French President Nicolas Sarkozy. That deep dive will be available soon.